Well, it's that time of the week for another probing podcast here on Small Caps. Great to have your company. I'm Peter Kapsanis. How many of you are a landlord or have been? Is it or was it a good investment? Was it more hassle than what it was worth? So how can we get on top of our property management reporting, which isn't only important for landlords and investors, but also for tenants? AssetOwl is an ASX-listed company which has developed an app called Inspector 360 for the property tech sector to streamline some of these issues. Joining me in the Small Cap studio is co-founder Giuseppe Di Franco. Giuseppe, good to have you on the show.
Thanks, Peter. It's great to be here.
So, Giuseppe, the company has been around since 2017 with effectively a mission to solve a problem. What is that problem and what does your company solve?
So the problem that we're solving is we're helping property managers get better insights from the properties that they manage and pushing those insights to the investment property owners, as well as helping all the other stakeholders along the way in that management lifecycle.
So you're doing it in a different way though, aren't you, Giuseppe? You're incorporating new technology that's streamlining, as I said in my intro, reducing the need for time and for labour. Tell me about the specifics, because you've got some fancy, you were showing me off there some fancy equipment. So how does it work? How do we provide those better insights and that transparency for to be able to enable property managers to report back to the landlords and I guess obviously for tenants to know what the state of play is?
Yeah, of course. There's probably about 5 major things that we've worked on that have helped this process along. The first one is the process that we work with in Australia. So Australia is a very legislative environment for rental properties, and we put a lot of effort into making sure that our system works really well within that legislative environment, whilst also making sure that process is very, very easy to use for property managers. Normally, property managers are stuck with a lot of different tools, a lot of different processes, and on top of that, they're trying to make it work in that legislative environment. And we put a lot of effort into streamlining that in our platform into one simple process. The next item would be the panoramas. So since our inception, we put a lot of effort into making it easy for users to capture panoramas inside properties and to get insights from those images. In our system, we've put panoramas front and center as the way that you capture the visual condition of that property.
When you say panoramas, you're talking about panoramic photos, right?
Yes, correct. So we've integrated with a number of 360-degree cameras that talk to our app, and that helps property managers easily take a virtual tour inside the house without being a professional photographer or knowing a lot about that sort of stuff. The next item is the capture page. So the capture page helps the property manager capture all the information they need at that property in one interface. And this takes a lot of the cognitive load off the property manager when they're inside the property. They can just focus on one screen. They can input all of their condition data, all of their images, panoramas into that one area without having to jump around in a lot of screens inside the app.
One-stop shop is what I'm hearing here, Giuseppe. So I know there's 2 more elements that you haven't gone into yet. So, but if we just park it here for a moment so we can effectively nutshell it, you've developed effectively an app for property managers to walk into residential properties, take photos once or twice in a particular room. Those photos merge together from around the house, and it creates and provides a better sense of transparency and market reporting for the agency and for the landlord. So it cuts down a lot of time, is what I'm hearing. There's a few more elements you're going to elaborate on for me as well.
Yeah, so the other one was for tenants. We have a really simple way for tenants on our app to easily complete their side of the report and get that back to the property manager and the owner in a timely fashion. And lastly, we have a really powerful owner portal where owners can log in and view the report digitally. So instead of getting a small PDF on your email with a couple of photos of how the property is being managed, we take the owner through an immersive virtual tour and we bring all of the important data to the top for them to see any action items, any damage at the property that they need to look at, instead of them having to go through pages and pages of just tables of data, which really doesn't have any insights for them. So we've made sure that the owners who are very time poor can easily get the insights they need from that report.
And what's this concept has been based on? What you've obviously based this on some kind of feedback, some kind of data, some kind of metrics, the need for this type of app to be in usage and in development. What's effectively spawned and prompted all this?
So back in 2017, we rolled out our enterprise product into Land and Housing Corporation in New South Wales. And that was really the genesis for thinking about our product inside the residential housing space. Since then, we've been able to have a vision for how properties should be managed in the private sector as well. And we've been able to have a vision for how properties should be managed in the private residential sector. And that's Inspector 360, which is what you see today.
If this transformation is coming into place, what's been the take-up, not only on the eastern side, but over here in WA, where I believe you've secured some agreements with new real estate agents here in Western Australia. So what's stimulating this customer growth for the need of something like Inspector 360?
Yep. So in WA, I think we're really lucky at the moment that people are starting to go back to work and the world's going slightly back to normal, and property managers are going back out and doing inspections. Since we launched the product last September, we put a lot of effort into taking on feedback and doing improvements. We were rolling out the product in January and February, and then with the lockdown of COVID-19, we had to stop that. People stopped going to properties and doing inspections. At that time, we put a lot of effort into building a remote inspection feature, which helps property managers do those inspections remotely really, really well. And since then, like I said, Perth's gone back to normal. We're starting to roll out with agencies. And I think something's changed. Property managers have been able to work from home. They've been able to find a lot of other efficiencies in their businesses. And they're now open to change. One of our biggest blockers in the past was resistance to change, resistance to people changing their processes. And in the past 2 or 3 months, just generally in business, people have had to do a lot of that. And they're looking at our product, and they're really excited about the value it can bring now during the period of coronavirus, but also they can see the value if they're willing to make that process change for how they can run their inspections day to day, regardless.
How has COVID fast-tracked or benefited the take-up of Inspector 360? So let me throw something at you now. We've got the situation in Melbourne right now where they're in what they call lockdown. People obviously can only go out. It's mandatory to wear a mask. Obviously, livelihood, the way we go about the way people in Victoria are going about their daily lives is a lot different to over here on the West Coast. So if someone wanted to carry out a property inspection, how can Inspector 360 be of benefit and be of advantage for that property agent, property manager?
Yes, so inside our app, we easily let tenants log into an inspection, and they have effectively a FaceTime call where they have a video call with the property manager inside our app. On the property manager's side, they can collect high-resolution photos from the tenant's app. So the tenant's essentially acting like a remote photographer.
Right.
They can also have a video call, so the property manager can see other things about the house they might not necessarily need to take a photo of. They can take any maintenance requests from the tenant through that call. And all of that data that the tenant collects during that time gets put into the routine inspection in the app for the owners to view. So we built a really easy way for the tenants to hop on a call, the property manager to get all the complex data they normally need to collect, and to export that easily for the owner to review.
You'd be hoping for a fairly compliant tenant though to do that, wouldn't you?
No, we took a lot of insights from property managers at the start of the crisis when coronavirus lockdown started around what was important to them, and having the video call happen as they collect that data allows them to easily ask questions and look at things so that tenants can't, hide any issues per se.
Mask a few dents in the walls or scratches or whatnot around the place.
Yeah, so we're really happy with our solution. It took a bit longer than we thought, but it's something that property managers are loving today, and it's something that property managers are now comfortable with and are talking about using even outside of lockdown, whether that's to reduce the travel time for property managers or to offer a different, more cost-effective offering to owners for their routine inspections. So it's definitely changed the way property managers are viewing routine inspections, and you've got people in the industry who forever wouldn't have imagined that they wouldn't go to a property to do a routine inspection, and now for our app, through that video call process, they're very comfortable with that.
And is all that information, that video call, etc., is that accessible by the landlord if they want to see what the condition is or what the tenant might have had to say? Obviously, it's all about transparency. So, as I mentioned, I'm a landlord myself, and I've had to at times have found I've had to be a bit more proactive than what I've wanted to be to extract that information. So, if I wanted to see, obviously, the condition report, and that if that's via video, can I, as a landlord, am I able to access that, or is there a privacy issue around that?
So at the moment, we don't allow the owners to get the videos. They have the digital portal.
Come on.
They can go and they can look at the report. That alone is really, really incredible compared to what owners normally have. We don't do video at the moment. We are looking at a lot of different avenues for video, definitely on the East Coast. Property managers using video a lot for routines. And we're just trying to put that into the product in the way that gives everyone the most value. So that's something that we're working on at the moment.
Okay, let me throw this up. How many real estate agencies would have taken this up? Obviously, I don't know if you're happy to share, but I mean, what are you surprised or you were impressed at the number of agencies taking this app up? I know you've been on a trial last year, but obviously things have been fast tracked since then. Are you happy with the take up, and what is the future? Where does the future growth lie in that?
So in terms of agencies, we've got a number of agencies in trials. We'll be making announcements in the near future around uptake and commercialization into contracts. But the feedback from agencies has been really, really positive. The ease of use of the product, the way that we've been able to sit into their current processes quite easily, that's really important. I think the right way to think about it in the future is the number of properties under management, not just the number of agencies that we have contracts with. That's really where the growth in the future is going to be. It's around what other value adds can we give to owners and property managers relative to the number of properties under management across our whole system.
All right. And as I mentioned right at the start, you are ASX listed. Therefore, investors want to know why they should invest their funds into AssetOwl and hopefully watch the share price go up and make squillions. Why? This is your moment to pitch here, Giuseppe, for any mums and dads, investors or whatnot, who want to sort of buy in on the AssetOwl sentiment. Why are you a solid company for them to put their hard-earned dollars into?
I think this is a great time for investors to look at AssetOwl. We're just at the start of our commercialization journey, and the product that we've built is one of the major underpinnings of the residential property management lifecycle. Personally, for me, I don't think there's any more important process than that inspection process. It's what protects the owner if there's any damage from the tenants. It's what gives the owner insights into their properties for sometimes many years before they can even visit it. So why wouldn't owners want something better than just a simple PDF and something that can give them insights into their property that most property managers probably aren't thinking about? That's really our focus in the future, is helping those property managers get better insights from that property. So for Australian investors who have an investment property, AssetOwl and Inspector 360 is probably the best insurance policy they can have during that property management life cycle.
All right, and you talk about insights. And I know you don't have a crystal ball, but I'd say AssetOwl is pretty close to having a crystal ball. Where do you see the property market at on a national scale? And do you think where's the trajectory? Is it going up? Is it going down? Can you share any data? You talk about insights. People listening in, other than wanting to invest their hard-earned dollars into something like this, they'd be curious to hear what your data tells you about the take-up of properties, not only investment properties, but new builds and whatnot. Obviously, the federal government and respective state governments have released and rolled out their own stimulus and building packages. But let's say the next 12 or so months, what do your insights tell you about the trajectory of the housing market?
So our insights are really specific to the inside four walls of the property and how a specific property is behaving. So in terms of valuations, where the market's going to go, I can't tell you much there. But I think what we offer and what we'll be able to offer into the future is an insight into those four walls that's never been able to be done before. That's really exciting, and that's our focus. That's where we've come from with retail and government, and we're really, really excited to be able to bring those sort of insights to property managers and investment property owners in Australia. And that's something no one on the market can do at the moment. So that's where we're going. I'll be able to tell you a lot in the next year or two about the patterns of the inside of those four walls. But for now, our focus is really on commercializing this product, keeping property managers happy and rolling this out across the country.
Well, Giuseppe Di Franco, co-founder of AssetOwl, thank you so much for your time. We look forward with interest. We'll be keeping tabs on it, and feel free to share any new and evolving news as it happens. But in the meantime, thanks for joining us on the Small Caps podcast today.
Thanks for your time.